war started before the first punch was even thrown. Manny Pacquiao, at 46 years old, walked into the ring like a man who refused to accept time's verdict. Across from him stood Mario Barrios, younger, fresher, and carrying the kind of confidence only youth and momentum can give. This wasn't just a fight, it was a question. A test of whether experience and heart could still outweigh speed and age. The lights at the MGM Grand felt heavier than usual. The cameras zoomed in on Pacquiao's face, calm but determined, his gloves tapping together in that familiar rhythm. Barrios, meanwhile, looked unshaken, almost impatient to prove he belonged on this stage. This was billed as Barrios' grandest moment, but for Pacquiao it was something deeper, a chance to remind the world why he's considered one of boxing's greatest underdogs. From the opening bell, the crowd didn't just watch, they held their breath. Every Pacquiao step carried decades of history. Every Barrios jab felt like a challenge to that history. It was youth against legacy, hunger against defiance. No one in that arena knew how the night would end, but everyone knew one thing for certain. This was going to be a battle of will as much as skill. And as the first round began, fans around the world leaned in, wondering if Pacquiao could still turn back the clock, or if Barrios was about to claim his biggest victory yet. This wasn't just another fight on the calendar, it was a collision of eras. Mario Barrios came into this night riding the momentum of recent wins, his style refined and his confidence soaring after proving he could hang with the division's toughest contenders. At 29, he was in the thick of his prime, a pressure fighter with a reputation for breaking opponents down with consistent volume and bodywork. For Barrios, this was more than a title defense. It was a statement opportunity, a chance to carve his name into history by defeating a legend. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, entered the ring with more questions than answers. His last official fight, a loss to Yordenis Ugas, had many wondering if time had finally caught up to him. He had taken years off, and at 46, the idea of jumping back into elite competition seemed impossible to some. But Pacquiao has never been a fighter who accepted limits. This fight, as he had said in interviews, wasn't about chasing belts or proving anything to critics. It was about proving it to himself. The stylistic matchup had fans buzzing long before the bell. Barrios' long jab, size advantage, and commitment to the body were expected to test Pacquiao's aging legs. Meanwhile, Pacquiao's unpredictable angles, darting in and out rhythm, and legendary hand speed were the X factors. Analysts debated endlessly. Could Manny still summon the bursts of energy that once overwhelmed younger opponents? Or would Barrios' patience and youth wear him down over 12 rounds? The atmosphere was electric as the referee gave final instructions. Every camera flashed. Every fan stood on edge. The stakes weren't just about a belt, they were about pride, legacy, and the kind of fight that reminds people why boxing still feels magical. The opening bell rang, and Manny Pacquiao wasted no time showing flashes of his trademark aggression. He darted forward in those signature quick steps, throwing a crisp 1-2 combination that split Barrios' guard in the first 30 seconds. The crowd roared. It was the Manny they remembered, fast, sharp, and unafraid to engage. A left hand to the body followed by a quick pivot out of range earned him early cheers and set the tone. Pacquiao wasn't here to coast, but Barrios, to his credit, didn't bite on the early chaos. He stayed patient, pumping out a stiff jab to test Manny's reactions. His plan was obvious: stay long, keep Manny at the end of his punches, and invest in the body early. In the first round, though, Pacquiao's rhythm was just too quick, but Barrios' right hook in an exchange drew another wave of excitement from the crowd, reminding everyone of his uncanny ability to find openings in tight spaces.
Will start to open up and get caught by shots like that right. And he went for the second one, and here it is again. Getting desperate.
The second round saw Barrios settle in. He began throwing combinations off his jab, touching Pacquiao's midsection with short, thudding body shots. Manny answered with flurries, darting in and out, but Barrios' size advantage was noticeable. Every time Manny lunged, Barrios would lean on him slightly, forcing clinches and making him carry weight. Round 3 was the most competitive of the opening stretch. Barrios started timing Manny's entries, landing a clean jab followed by a quick left hook as Pacquiao stepped stepped in. Manny, unfazed, fired back with a blistering 4-punch combination that split Barrios' guard, forcing him to backpedal for the first time. The crowd exploded as Pacquiao darted forward again, but Barrios absorbed the shots well, rolling with the punches and digging another left to the body before the bell. When the third round ended, the commentators were already debating. Pacquiao's speed is still there, but can he keep this pace for 12 rounds? One asked. Barrios, calm in his corner, nodded to his trainer. He had survived the initial storm and was beginning to find his timing. By round 4, Mario Barrios looked far more comfortable, and the subtle shift in momentum was clear. He began dictating range with his jab, doubling it up and mixing in a sneaky right hand that started finding Pacquiao's face more consistently. Manny still charged in bursts, but Barrios' timing improved. He was no longer just defending. He was countering. Early in the fourth, Barrios caught Pacquiao lunging with a stiff jab that snapped his head back, drawing a murmur from the crowd. Pacquiao responded moments later with a rapid-fire combination to the body, ending with a left upstairs, but Barrios stayed composed, blocking most of it with his high guard. Commentators noted the difference. Barrios wasn't panicking under fire. He was making Manny work for every inch. The fifth round belonged to Barrios. Using his reach and footwork, he began stepping to the side after jabbing, preventing Pacquiao from launching his usual darting counters. A triple left hook combination from Barrios midway through the round caught Pacquiao high on the temple, forcing him to reset. Pacquiao landed a sharp right hook to the body in response, but for the first time, he seemed to hesitate before jumping in. Barrios also targeted Manny's midsection, sneaking in clean body shots that commentators pointed out could pay dividends in the later rounds. Still, Manny had his moments. Toward the end of round 5, he exploded with one of his classic rushes, slipping under a jab and firing a quick left to the body, then a straight left upstairs that pushed Barrios back into the ropes. The crowd roared as Pacquiao followed with another flurry, but Barrios covered up well and clinched before Manny could build on the attack. Round 6 turned into a tactical chess match. Barrios stayed disciplined behind his jab, using it to keep Manny at the end of his punches. Manny, though, landed the cleaner power shots, darting in with a sharp left hand and even throwing a quick uppercut in close range. Barrios' best work remained downstairs, with a thudding left hook to the ribs that clearly got Manny's attention. As the bell rang, both men traded in the center, neither willing to give ground.
The orange up is going to be good. Bottom of the white letters up is good. You got my instructions in the back, gentlemen. Protect yourselves at all times. Listen to my commands. Touch them up. Back to front.
At this stage, the fight was tightening up. The early lead Manny had built was starting to slip, and the question now was whether his 45-year-old legs could handle the pace Barrios was pushing. Round 7 opened with a noticeable shift in body language. Barrios looked fresher, bouncing on his toes and pumping his jab with confidence, while Pacquiao's footwork showed the first signs of fatigue. His darting in and out movements slowed just slightly, and Barrios seized the moment, stepping forward with more aggression. Early in the round, Barrios landed a clean 1-2, the right hand sneaking through Pacquiao's guard, prompting a roar from the crowd as Manny stumbled back half a step, not hurt, but clearly feeling the sting.
The right hand of Mario Barrios trying to establish, and it almost seems like he wants Pacquiao to get some sense of confidence for him to come in and do something.
Manny, however, refused to let Barrios control the narrative. Midway through the round, he exploded with a trademark burst, slipping under a jab and firing a 5-punch combination, a left to the body, 2 short hooks upstairs, and a finishing straight left that snapped Barrios' head back. The crowd erupted as Manny grinned, briefly bouncing on his toes to show he wasn't slowing down yet. Still, Barrios closed the round strong, landing a sharp left hook to Manny's body that made the commentators remark on how consistent his body attack had been all fight. Round 8 was Barrios' best round so far. He cut off the ring more effectively, trapping Manny near the ropes and unloading with flurries that, while not all landing clean, forced Pacquiao to cover up for long stretches. A triple jab followed by a straight right grazed Manny's chin, and Barrios capitalized by digging another left hook to the ribs. Pacquiao tried to answer back, slipping out of the corner with a quick right hook to the temple, but his counters came in shorter bursts now, and the crowd sensed the younger man's pressure was starting to wear him down. Manny managed to finish the round with a quick body shot and a left upstairs, but Barrios' output earned him the momentum heading into the 9th. Round 9 was a war of wills. Manny, realizing Barrios was starting to take control, came out with urgency. He darted in with a crisp straight left, followed by a rapid-fire three-punch combination that landed cleanly, making the crowd roar again. Barrios, undeterred, bit down and fired back with his own combination, catching Manny with a stiff jab and a looping right hand that seemed to momentarily stun him. The two traded at mid-range, with Manny throwing in spurts and Barrios walking him down, forcing exchanges. A short right uppercut from Barrios to Manny's chin late in the round drew gasps, but Manny answered immediately with a left cross that snapped Barrios' head back just before the bell. By the end of round 9, the fight felt closer than ever. The younger, fresher Barrios was applying relentless pressure, but Manny's experience and ability to land clean power shots kept him very much in it. Commentators noted how fatigue was becoming a factor for Pacquiao. His flurries were still sharp, but they were coming fewer and farther between.
That means that Manny Pacquiao will start to open up and get caught by shots like that right. And he went for the second one, and here it is again. Getting desperate, Manny.
The championship rounds began with both men showing the physical and mental weight of the fight. Pacquiao, though visibly slower than in the early rounds, still had flashes of brilliance in his footwork, darting in for quick attacks before stepping out of range. Barrios, sensing the fight was hanging in the balance, pressed forward with even more urgency, his jab pumping like a piston as he cut off Manny's angles. Round 10 opened with Barrios continuing to target the body, ripping a left hook to Manny's ribs that clearly made the legend wince. Barrios followed with a stiff jab upstairs and a straight right, forcing Pacquiao to retreat to the ropes momentarily. But Manny, ever the warrior, countered with a quick burst. A right hook followed by a straight left that landed flush, snapping Barrios' head back. The crowd roared as Manny tried to build on the moment with a flurry of short punches, but Barrios smothered him with clinches, leaning his weight on the older fighter to sap his energy. By the bell, Barrios looked to have done enough to edge the round with sheer pressure and activity, but Manny's clean power shots kept it close.
At this age, after this layoff, almost fighting on even terms here with Barrios.
Oh, what a nice right from Barrios, but the answer from Manny Pacquiao. If they're in the center of the ring, and if Jicky said to Manny Pacquiao, you got to win it.
Round 11 was a throwback to Pacquiao's younger days, at least in spirit. Knowing he needed to make a statement, Manny started the round bouncing on his toes, circling to his right, and firing rapid combinations whenever Barrios stepped inside. A beautiful sequence saw Manny slip a jab and land a quick three-punch combo, a left to the body, right hook upstairs, and a straight left down the pipe. That forced Barrios to reset. But Barrios remained relentless, digging back to the body and scoring with short uppercuts when Manny stayed too long in the pocket. The two exchanged heavily in the final 30 seconds, with Manny landing a flush left cross and Barrios responding with a looping right that partially landed as the bell rang. The arena was electric, commentators calling it the kind of round you expect in a fight that feels too close to call. Round 12 was everything fans hoped for. Both fighters, clearly exhausted, fought as if it was the final round of their careers. Pacquiao came out aggressive, throwing a furious four-punch combination that landed cleanly, bringing the crowd to its feet. Barrios responded with his own surge, doubling up on his jab and sneaking in a hard right hand that caught Manny off balance. The two exchanged wildly in the center of the ring, Manny landing a sharp right hook and Barrios connecting with a stiff left to the body. With less than 30 seconds remaining, Manny unleashed one last flurry, a trademark sequence of quick-fire lefts and rights that forced Barrios back slightly. But Barrios stayed composed, landing a short jab and clinching in the final moments to stop Manny's momentum.
It's going to be about hunger. It's going to be about desire. It's going to be about feeding off the crowd. It's going to be about who wants to win tonight.
As the final bell rang, both men raised their hands, exhausted but defiant. Pacquiao's face showed the marks of war, slight swelling under his right eye and reddening around the cheeks, while Barrios looked fresher but equally tested. Commentators agreed it was close, painfully close, and would come down to how the judges valued Manny's clean power shots against Barrios' relentless pressure and body work. As both fighters returned to their corners after the grueling 12th round, the tension inside the arena arena was almost unbearable. Neither man looked like a clear winner. Pacquiao had landed the cleaner, flashier shots that drew roars from the crowd, while Barrios had been the busier fighter, piling up points with body shots and constant forward pressure. Commentators emphasized how difficult this fight was to score, with some unofficial tallies split right down the middle. The ring announcer stepped into the center, microphone in hand, as the crowd hushed. Camera shots panned to Pacquiao, who stood bouncing lightly on his toes, his gloves resting on the ropes as if bracing himself for whatever was coming. Barrios stood across from him, chest rising and falling rapidly, his trainer whispering something in his ear. Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. The first score was read, 114 to 114, draw. A cheer erupted from a small section of Barrios supporters, while Pacquiao fans booed loudly. The second scorecard came, 115 to 113 for Manny Pacquiao. Now the entire arena was roaring, split between chants of Manny, Manny, and shouts of Barrios. Finally, the third score was read, 114 to 114, a majority draw.
Decision is a majority draw.
The arena exploded in noise, cheers, boos, and shocked gasps mixing into a deafening wall of sound. Barrios raised his hands in relief, knowing a draw meant he retained his belt. Pacquiao smiled politely and clapped his gloves together, but there was no hiding the disappointment on his face. Commentators immediately called the result controversial but understandable, noting how evenly matched the fight had been. Some fans argued Pacquiao had done enough with his clean, effective punches, while others pointed to Barrios' work rate and body shots as the deciding factor.
How much did you learn from fighting a legend like Pacquiao?
I learned a lot tonight. I think just being there with somebody like him, having to make those adjustments round by round, trying to figure him out, and him trying to figure me out. That's that high speed chess, and feel like playing chess with somebody, with his type of experience. So it can only.
7-5. Who won, Devin? I think Manny won 7-5.
Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios didn't deliver a clear winner, but it gave fans something just as compelling. A fight that sparked debate, divided opinions, and reminded everyone why boxing still thrives on stories like this. At 46, Pacquiao proved he can still hang with the best, while Barrios showed he belongs on this stage. But was it enough for either man to silence the doubters? That's for you to decide. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who really won this fight? And if you want more breakdowns of the biggest moments in boxing, hit subscribe. The conversation isn't over, it's just beginning.